I'm Ryan Durbin from RD Ceramics, located in Highland Heights, Kentucky.
And I'm Becca Otis with Five Lines Pottery, and I'm located in Statesville, North Carolina. And welcome to Wheel Talk. Okay.
There we
It
go.
was never the point
There
of
we
the
go.
podcast to like make it so big that it's our only thing. Now, would that be nice? Sure.
Yeah.
But it's always been the goal to make it something that we still enjoy doing after our day jobs.
Yeah.
hmm
No, that's
Not get
that's
too
Yeah.
burned
cool.
out on it.
Yeah.
Well, and you both are, I feel like you're both doing a lot for your day job. Like you're both making art and working and doing the podcast. Like that's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When does this come out, Ryan? When will this like air
This will
probably?
be one of the early ones. I don't know if it'll be the first episode of the summer season, but it will be out
Hmm.
in July. So
In like July 4th-ish?
potentially on July 4th,
Okay,
Oh, that'd be cool.
because
can
that's
I
the
tell
first
you a
Saturday
secret?
of the season. So
Can I tell you a secret that nobody knows except for you guys that will come out on July 4th?
what's
What?
that?
I quit my job.
Did you?
Oh, no way.
hmm
Wow.
But I'm not
That is a
done
secret.
until July 17th.
Oh, so you're really trying to time this out.
So this is news for everybody hearing this.
This is news because it happened
Yeah.
yesterday.
Okay.
Oh,
It's
wow.
news for you and it's news for them.
Whoa.
So I'm not making
Wow.
this
That's a
podcast
trip.
about me, but I just wanted to tell you because we didn't talk about it beforehand, and I thought it would be fun to say,
That's
yeah,
big.
That
yeah.
is big
So
though. I mean,
I'm
maybe we
doing
should talk about that. Like
I'm
what
doing full time.
like
Well, I what was what I'm kind of excited about is because Nikolai, you did the same thing, and
yeah.
we should talk about that and
Yeah,
like
it's a big
what that
it's a big decision.
it's a big decision. And I mean, like, it's not as big of a decision for me because I've probably done it 15 times, but, um, not really, but it is something that I'm sure a lot of people think about. We've talked about it with Ryan a little bit.
That's the scariest
Hmm.
decision I'm ever going to have to make, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like,
I,
I'm
Oh, it's
literally not going to leave until they lay me off. I've said that like
yeah. Yeah.
multiple
do you
times. And I'm
know,
like, I felt like I've said that I would have been gone like 4 years ago, but I'm still on the hook.
I cried yesterday
Hmm.
and for a lot of different reasons, but one of them was like realizing how scary it is. But it's good. It's like good. Like I'm so
Yeah.
excited, you know? But this is also the first time that, and you both have this and have had this for a while. This is the first time that I have a partner that like it's not just me. Like I can't just pull myself out the gutter. I have to like
Yeah.
somebody's like relying
Consider
on me
others.
with me, like
Yeah.
yeah, I have to be less selfish.
Yeah.
And so and he's amazing, right? Like he wants me to be happy, so like, that's great. And like
But
he's
it's
fully in
scary though.
support.
Like it's
But it
it's
is so
terrifying. It's totally
scary.
terrifying. It's way
Yeah.
it's always easier to stay where you're at because a lot of the time, like even if you're miserable, you have like safety and security. But so like leaving that is terrifying, even though it's also exciting. So that's like the mixed
hmm
thing.
Yeah.
It's like, are you
And
more scared of
so
the unknown and the possibility or the
Yeah.
potential of what could happen? Or are you more scared of like the regret of staying there too long and then you're like, oh, I could have, I don't know.
Yeah.
yeah, and I feel like mine's kind of like twofold. Like for the most part, I would say it's because of my hands.
Hmm.
So, funny enough, got this job so that I could have a break on my hands. Didn't get a break on my hands because it's a production job because I'm an idiot. But I did get surgery. So now that I've got the surgery done, my hands still hurt and the job's not making it any better.
Yeah.
But they hurt in a different way, but they're not going to heal while I'm still at that job.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah.
tough. I mean, have you noticed a difference though with your hands?
Yes and no. Like, yes, in the sense of they don't fall asleep at night, and that was like the biggest thing to
Oh
overcome.
wow. Yeah.
And it was like so painful. I cannot describe to you the pain. of like waking up with a hand that feels like it's being stabbed by 25,000 knives. Like it
Wow.
Oh,
is awful.
that's like pain level 10, and now
Yeah.
it's
Oh
down to
yeah,
like a
it's
6 or
terrible. It's terrible. And like I wouldn't be like this was but way before, but because I like fixed it a little bit, but I wouldn't be able to like sleep. I wouldn't be able to do anything.
Hmm.
So um there's that. That pain is completely gone, which is awesome. But then there's the like soreness, and I think that's just surgery. Soreness in
Hmm.
this hand is just from surgery, and it's like right around where the incision was. This hand, I think, had extra on top of it. So like the pain from the
Hmm.
carpal tunnel's gone, but there's something else. So I think it has like a pinched nerve or something like that.
Oh
But now
wow.
that I don't
Yeah.
have a won't have a job anymore, I won't have insurance to figure it out. So I'll just have to like do this again in 15 years. I
but if you didn't have the job, you probably would have never got the surgery.
would have
Yeah.
never
I
gotten the
feel like
surgery.
you're.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's why I got the job. I went in there and said, I'm here for the medical insurance. I'm leaving in two
Yeah.
years.
That go. I mean, yeah. Medical insurance goes a long way.
It really
Um,
does.
that'll help a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, you
So
probably have,
anyway,
Nikolai, I'm guessing you probably have insurance and some of that security with your partner of
Yeah.
figuring
And
some
that.
of those things
Yeah.
out.
That's where it's different. That's where it's like I couldn't have. I mean, I was in a position too where it's like I couldn't have done it without Kira, my wife. So it's like she had, I
yeah.
have insurance through her, and like that helps a lot. But it's like you still got to factor in another person and your animals and your family and like how that all fits in and
Hmm.
where you fit in with
Yeah.
them.
And your rent and your
Yeah,
like,
no, it's
Yeah,
all
you don't exactly live in a
yeah.
cheap area of the country.
Oh, I know.
yeah,
San Diego's
especially you
not
guys.
not easy.
Oh,
We've yeah.
let's introduce you. Let's introduce you before we get into more of where you live.
Oh yeah, just in case. Yeah,
Yeah, so
I'm in
that was a
San
little
Diego.
preamble to we've got Nicholai Busch on from BuschKraft Tools, if you're not familiar. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for the support. I'm sure you all have heard about BuschKraft and all that on the podcast over the last probably few months, and
Yeah, yeah,
seeing all the good stuff that they have to offer with their tools. And we got to get together at ClayCon West and NCECA and all that good stuff. I'm sure we'll talk about a number of those things. But Nikolai, do you want to introduce yourself to
yeah.
the folks here that may not know much about you?
Yeah, no, I'm Nicholai. I'm in San Diego. I started Bushcraft. Bushcraft is the brand. Bushcraft Tools or the pottery tools, and I started this last year. And so I previously was at DiamondCore for quite a while. I'm sure we'll talk about that. And I've known you guys for a number of years. Like I've seen you around for quite a few years. I want to say, like I'm thinking ClayCon a lot of years ago,
Yeah.
and in Sika, and so it's like I feel like we've all just been hovering around in each other's worlds for quite a while. But this is super awesome, and like thanks for having me, and happy to talk about anything. And like it's a fun story, and like as bushcraft is growing, there's more I've learned, and like there's more and more to talk about. And I think pottery in general, ceramics in general, is blowing up right now, and
Yeah.
in a really deep way. Like I think people are. It's not just like a hobby for people. People are choosing it as a lifestyle and a career, and weaving it into their life in all sorts of new ways. And so I think it's an exciting time in the ceramics industry as a whole.
You know what's cool? I feel like I've seen more individuals like having their own ways of offering like tools is like I think it's cool that there's an
Yeah.
opportunity for like I feel like some of the
Mm,
glaze companies are smaller, like I don't know, the ritual
yeah.
Hmm.
glazes and some of the like flex and specs, and like they start from something small that an individual
Yeah.
artist is using and like figuring out. And I feel like there's just more opportunity for that to be a possibility these days. And it's kind of
It
cool to see
expands. Yeah.
artists
There
taking
is.
that
Yeah.
upon themselves and like making a business for themselves and then offering it to other people like, oh, there's a demand for
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
And there's also companies that are doing that with people too, more. I feel like Speedball is a good example of that. Like they're
Mhm.
taking products that people are making and they're like, "Hey, let's like we have the ability to make this bigger. Let's do
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
it."
have the factory and the
Like
expertise
yeah,
to
like
figure that out.
the like those
Distribution.
little the centering ribs and the boss face and
Hmm.
stuff like that. Yeah, I agree. I think that it's about fucking time. that
Yeah.
like the potters started taking their own tools and selling. I feel like the only person that was selling tools for the longest time was, now I'm gonna forget his name. God damn it.
I know Troy Bungart has been
Yeah,
doing a
Troy.
lot of wood tools for a long
Mhm.
time.
Like I feel like the only one that I really hear about for the longest time that's a potter is Troy.
Mhm.
Maybe, I guess maybe, I don't know, who's the guy that does the really fancy, the one that you can never get tools from anymore? Was he a potter?
Dolan
Oh,
tools or
Bison,
Bison tools
Dolan.
or
Bison.
Yeah.
I don't think
I
Bison's
thought
around necessarily
he's
anymore,
not
but
around anymore, but I thought he was.
He was. I mean, like that's a
Um,
tool that you would think that a potter would make,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's a lot more, and I think it's easier ish now. And it's interesting because like pottery is kind of a niche market, but like coming up with like a glaze, like a speckles glaze, or like something niche within the niche market is so unique. But I think all of us in the world, like everyone's so hungry for new tools and new ways to
Mm-hmm.
create things, and there's so many different types of pottery and like stages of it that it just there's a lot of potential um, just within pottery.
yeah. And
Yeah.
then the ways to partner with artists. I know a lot of companies are spreading their marketing and ways of connecting
Mm-hmm.
with an audience
Yeah,
and pulling in individual artists to say, "Hey, you have a skill set and you have an audience." And a way of like putting my tools through the ringer a little bit, giving me
yeah.
feedback rather than like having a quality assurance team in-house that can do some stuff.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's huge. I think like you can't I think it's hard to like be successful without that now because so many people are looking we get a lot of our inspiration, from Instagram. We're all looking on Instagram or the internet and we're seeing artists and like whatever tools they're using, you know, I want those tools, someone wants those tools and like I think that is kind of critical to today's like business of introducing a new tool to the market. And yeah,
Hmm.
you can't have like you can try all the tool and like I'm a potter, so I can test all the tools but I'm only me. And so, constantly asking people or sending tools out to try and just someone else will use a tool differently than you and they're gonna do something really interesting and they might like that's what's really cool to see is like I made the tools to start the way I would use them, but now I'm seeing hundreds of people use them in all sorts of other ways, and to
Yeah.
create
Hmm.
all sorts of things. And like that, it goes beyond just like a quality testing. It's like things you didn't even think could be done. People are doing with them,
Or doing.
Hmm.
and that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a potter that I've seen that like I wouldn't be carving out bone dry, but there's some people that have to
Yeah,
get that precision at like a bone dry stage
yeah,
where like I don't know how much testing you can do at bone dry, but if there's somebody that I'm thinking of this guy that does facets and he does like teacups or something and he
Ah,
shaves
hmm,
down the
ah,
pot and I'm like, how
yeah,
do you put your tool to the test to see if it can hold up with making, he's making a session. I don't know how many he makes, but let's say he's making like 40 of those with
yeah.
like 15 facets each. Is that tool going to hold up?
Oh, it's a ton, and yeah, that's like a interesting thing too because in something like the detail tools is what we started with. Though, those blades are so small and like they do wear through, but like how do you measure wear of a tool? And like one of the top questions, like how long is this blade going to last? How many pots can I carve? And that is so difficult to answer because everyone carves different amounts on different size pots in different clay and different drynesses. And it's really difficult. And so like I've tried to think about it more in terms of like hours of carving, of like active carving, because then you can if you carve one pot for 40 hours, you're going to carve one pot. But if someone carves 100 pots in 40 hours, they're going to carve 100 pots. And so I'm trying
Right.
to gauge it more like that. And then also, if I'm testing something, it's difficult for me to go carve 40 hours, put 40 hours towards carving something just to try like one variation of a piece of metal or something. And so getting it
Right.
to artists to like I've sent a lot of tools to artists that I know carve a lot per piece. And so they're just spending a lot of hours, behind the tool, using the tool. And so talking to them, working with them, and like seeing how long certain metals will wear, uh, with their carving style, that's a big advantage. Like that's a
Right.
lot more informative.
Because I'm thinking like otherwise you'd have to run like a belt sander or something rubbing against the tool, and
Yeah,
that simulates a certain level of grog in clay, and that you're like it
Yeah.
should last about this amount of
yeah.
time, but
And
like that's
that's
not a true.
yeah. It's
I don't
not a
know.
true test, and like, you could, if you had an unlimited budget, you could come up with a test to actually run that would, maybe you're running each blade through a mile of clay somehow, and you're measuring that, and you're collecting all that information. But like that's an expensive, thing to do, and in terms
Hmm.
of time and money and equipment and all that. And so, we're not like sending rockets to the moon, so we don't necessarily need to like spend the time and money on testing that to that extent. We can do it kind of like the old-fashioned way of just, we're going to give this to a bunch of artists and say, hey, carve, and keep track of, how many hours does this blade last you? How many hours does this blade last you? And like what
Hmm.
Yeah.
type of clay do you use? And then you put all that data together, and that gives you a lot of really good information that you can use.
And then if the price point is attractive enough, then it's you can realize like, oh, it's worth it. I'm getting my value, or I'm not getting my value.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then you can
No,
tweak things of like thickening up the quality of the metal, or changing
exactly. Yeah.
whatever it
And
is.
that was
Yeah.
a big thing too, is just trying to keep the price point friendly or inaccessible, and like make sense, where if someone does wear through a blade very quickly, it's not the end of the world, or it's very affordable. It's affordable enough for them to go get more blades, and it should work well enough that they want to continue to go get more blades.
Hmm.
So wait, what's the answer?
What's what's the how
Yeah.
long it'll last?
Yeah.
I go with 40 hours. So I go I and
40 hours. Okay.
it'll for, I'd say, like average, it could be as low as like 20 if someone is just
Yeah.
carving fast. Like it really does vary. And I've talked to some people that, for example, like on the trimming, they've trimmed 1,000 pots with one blade, and they've completely worn it down, but they're still trimming with it. Um,
Yeah.
and so it's like that just varies. But yeah, I usually go between like 20 and 40 hours of like active carving. Like so if you think, if you're going to spend 40 hours in a week carving, how many pots you make, like that can be quite a
Yeah.
bit.
Hmm.
Oh yeah. I was just wondering. I mean, like, we're not holding you to
Yeah.
that, by the way.
No, good, because
Um,
it's tough. It's really tough.
Yeah, it's like 40
yeah.
hours with a
Yeah.
white stoneware with no grog,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah, no.
25 with a coarse grogged buff clay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
It's
I know people that can wear down a bison tool, so like, come on.
yeah.
Like,
No, you'll go through it. You'll totally go through it. And actually, the metal that I'm ended up going with is, I've heard recently from people that do carve a lot that they're getting a lot more mileage off of bushcraft blades, just because the metal we're using is different than a lot of what you'd find. It's more wear resistant, and so
oh,
it's
nice.
it's very specialty. And like I've it took a lot of testing and effort to like get the right metal for this.
And that's a
Um,
trade secret. We're not going to say what it
that's
is.
a trade secret. I won't even say what it is, but it's just like it's a certain alloy, it's a certain type of stainless, and I've noticed, it will
Hmm.
just last that much longer, because you're talking about, fractions of a millimeter, just a very tiny,
Yeah.
tiny little amount, and so the material itself will make a difference wearing through. And I've noticed too that like this is what I would be interested in testing though, is like carving a porcelain. I think will wear a little bit quicker than trimming or carving like a groggy clay, because, and it's a little counterintuitive, but like my reasoning is like the particles and the silica in porcelain are more abrasive than, like, you think about a groggy clay, it has more
Oh.
sand. The sand isn't necessarily wearing down the metal as much. It's kind of like bouncing around. It's going to bounce out of the way. It's going to kind of cut through it. But like
Hmm.
porcelain is so fine. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it's
I
extremely
totally
dense.
understand that.
And so I've
Yeah.
I've noticed that carving porcelain, like I will wear blades slightly quicker than groggy clay.
Okay, that is kind of what I was thinking actually.
Yeah, and it again, it's like I would want to do
But
it'd
maybe
be
I'm
cool to do a
comparing
real
white
study.
stoneware to speckled grog stone, like medium grog stoneware. So it's
Yeah,
not
which
it's not
is
the same comparison.
that's not quite the same.
The
Yeah, and
grog
it's
is
Yeah.
more abrasive in that
yeah,
aspect, so it is grinding
yeah.
it down quicker. Yeah.
Um, but that's just like when you get into it and you spend time thinking about that, it's like, oh, like what actually wears the blade, and like and bone dry versus wet clay. I don't know. It's like it's still the same material. It's definitely going to be a little bit softer going through wet clay. Um, but it's still abrasive. Like you think
Hmm.
about, any kind of sanding or like diamond sanding or a file or anything, like you always using water, but it's an abrasive material. You're gonna wear it down.
Hmm. Okay.
But
So,
yeah, so blades.
kind of going back. I mean, obviously you came from Diamond Core, but do you want to share anything about like your clay background before that, and then how you found your way into like designing and making tools?
Yeah, so I've always done clay. Like always I started, I think when most of us maybe take a pottery class in like middle school or high school, you take like the intro to ceramics. And so that was like my first exposure, but I just sort of stuck with it since. So my first time was in middle school, and then through high school I actually did a lot of sculpture, and I hated the wheel. It was too hard, just like, a lot of
Fair.
people feel that, like totally fair. And so I did a lot of sculpture, and I had actually had a piece like go to NCECA when I was in high school, but I didn't know what NCECA was. It was just like this thing that like some pieces we shipped there, and um but like that was sort of encouraging, and it was like, oh, I like pottery, I like ceramics, I like making things, like making things with my hands. And so in college I got a job teaching pottery at Cal Poly. They have like a student run
Which
studio
Cal
wood
Poly?
shop. San Luis Obispo.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I
um
went to Pomona.
the I was gonna say the good
Yeah,
one,
the
but
good one. Yeah,
yeah.
no shit.
um
Yeah.
so And yeah, so I for 4 years there, I basically taught pottery and ran that studio, and that's where I got into wheel because I had to all of a sudden, like I knew how to throw on the wheel, I just didn't like it. But now all of a sudden I had to like teach a lot of wheel throwing and intro to wheel throwing. So I was like, well, I gotta, that's just where I really, I think, learned a lot more about throwing and trimming and that process because I had to teach it. And then that's also when I started carving and getting into more surface decoration and glazing. And so towards the end of that run, I started doing a lot more wood firings and spending more time just in the studio. And then my like professional career went the like manufacturing route. So my degrees in industrial technology and manufacturing. So it's very much product development, packaging development, product design, manufacturing of products and supply chain, and a lot of business and marketing all kind of mixed in. And so I went to work for a solar panel company in the Bay Area. And so I was designing like parts of solar panels. And that was, a full-time job. I was doing that for a number of years and just kept throwing. I always had a wheel in the backyard, always throwing pottery. And for the longest time, I would haul stuff down to San Luis Obispo from the bay to fire in a wood kiln, and that was tough. And so, um, over time, like I just started going to studios and everything. And then in 2020, uh, I moved. The solar company shut down, so I moved to San Diego because Kira, my wife, was down here going to nursing school. And so I was like about to like go. Um, I was about to get another job in kind of like the like packaging. There's a lot of like biotech manufacturing. Like I don't know. I don't want to say like boring, but it was just like it was going to be like a good career path. Like fine. And I started going to a studio and met a guy. And the lady running the studio there was like, "Hey, you should go check out this tool company. It's down the street. They're small, but like maybe you've heard of them, DiamondCore." And like at the time, it was very small. So this was 2020. It was 2019, end of 2019. And so I went and like checked that out and was like, wow, this is cool. Like, and I started talking to the guy running it. And I was like, well, I do a lot of pottery. I also know manufacturing and design and this. And like, would you be open to, you know, I can help you guys out for a little bit. And it was small. Like they were at the time, Diamond Core was in a like a mechanics. shed sort of thing. It was like one of those like long buildings where there's a bunch of mechanic stalls, and it's just it was like we was in one little unit of that, and it was packed, and it was like, um, but they were they were making all the tools there and putting them together, and it was just kind of crazy. And I was like, well, this is cool. I'll give it. So we like kind of came to an agreement, and I was going to give it 6 months just to like see. And at the time, it was a risk. So it's like you think about taking the risk. It's like I was going to divert from career and go into this questionable, um, you know,
Kind of startup tool company.
startup tool
Yeah.
company. Like forget healthcare, forget benefits, forget half your paycheck, like forget you like just like try it out. And so that was at the time like a big risk, but it was like how often do you get that opportunity? And so then then I started, and that was basically 2020. And so then of course COVID hit at the same time, and so we were planning on going to NCECA that year, and the first tools I made were the trimming tools, so like T1 through T4. And because there were no, at the time when I started, there was just a few of the carving tools, and so like there were no trimming tools. There was like a couple of the diamond pads, and then just the diamond discs by themselves. And so kind of the first thing I was like, you guys need trimming tools. Like trimming is a huge part of pottery, and you have the carving side, but like not everyone carves, but a lot more people trim. And so we made the trimming tools for NCECA, and that was right when NCECA got canceled, basically.
Woo.
And like everything was shutting down. It was a total kind of just crazy. Nobody knew like what was going to happen. And so then for like 6 months, I was like making all like the first original trimming tools I made in my garage at the time, because we were all working from home, but we had to like produce the tools still. So I was like bending the blades, and everyone, there were only like three or four of us at the shop, and we would all kind of do different things. And so a lot of those tools were like made just like on the belt
Made by
sander in the garage,
Nicholai.
like hanging out, and
Wow.
like, and it was very manual. Like a lot of the tools, a lot of the bending was very manual in the beginning. It was, the all the processes back then were much different. The materials were much different. There was no documentation. There was no uh, like specs for anything at all. It was,
Handbooks.
Yeah, they
nothing.
weren't
Yeah, there was
taking
nothing.
like computer generated like ideas
Nothing. There were
and
no
saying like
measurements.
let's
It was
do it to
just,
that
yeah,
spec. Yeah.
yeah. It was like
Sometimes,
just,
oh, sorry.
no, you're good.
Sometimes
It
I
was, yeah.
feel like, um, okay, I've experienced this like a lot in my life, but also like when you just like realize that like companies are people.
Yeah.
Like, like you just don't realize it until you hear stories like this. Like you're like, oh yeah, we were in our fucking garage, like bending tools, and like it's wild. It's like the first
Yeah.
time I ever did anything big with a company with Starbucks, and the graphic designer was my boss's brother from
Yeah.
like Sherwin-Williams, and I was like, oh my God, these are just regular people. You
Yeah.
know? You're like, I
Just
thought they were
working in a for a
superheroes.
big company, a big name
Like,
company.
Yeah.
like
No,
they
it's
don't
it
know
all,
what they're
yeah.
doing either.
Nobody does. No, that's nobody ever does. And
That's where branding can
yeah,
take you a long way because some of these, like you assume it's a big conglomerate and a big company. The name holds a lot of weight.
Yeah.
yeah.
All of the
Uh,
customer service, all those things like are really important. Almost
it's
fake it
just a
till you
bunch
make
of
it. But
people on the other side. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
No, and that's like very true. And like at the time, like the name, the brand had like been growing for quite a while. Not a quite like 5, 6 years or so. And so like people knew of it, but it was still like relatively small. And like again, there weren't that many tools. So it's like it was pretty
Yeah.
niche. Um and but then like basically from there, like I mean, I was there for almost 6 years. So end of 2019, 2020 through 2025. And all the tools since then are kind of that really just expanded in a lot of different directions.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, there's obviously like a lot there, but
you
when it
basically
comes
had a hand
to
in everything of those tools
in
because you were the
everything, and like,
director. Your role was like director of engineering by the end of it,
yeah,
but
yeah,
you were
and
involved
well,
in the
and
development of. most of those
of
tools.
of pretty much all of them, yeah. And the there's like the tool part, designing the tool. I was the only one that did pottery there, so that was a big
Of course.
factor. So it's like, so when it came to like testing the tools, again, it's like that kind of fell on me. Of course we sent stuff to artists. We got a lot of ideas. There was always, and with any company, there's always a ton of ideas, but it's like you can't. A lot of my job was to like take these ideas that and then turn them into a product. And there's a lot in between those two things. Like everyone can have an idea, but making that a product that can appear on a shelf or on a website and you get in a box and it feels like a legit product, like there's a lot in between that. And so everything from, resourcing all the parts and pieces to make them like professionally made, I would say. Like when I started, we were bending blades around screwdrivers and like different size screwdriver handles were the different size blades. And I was like, we probably shouldn't do that anymore. Like, let's make jigs and like let's make like press like let's actually bend these like to a spec. And there was the process of making the blades completely changed because it was really expensive and it was slow and labor intensive and like there's all sorts of manufacturing things you can do to not just like outsource but just like change the process itself. And so
Yeah.
that's when we got like the first laser and we started engraving on all the handles. Because I thought it'd be cool if like there was no way to differentiate what tool was what. People knew the colors, but we ran out of colors. There's only like 8 colors. So you start adding tools, you like
Of the like
start
handle
reusing
color,
colors.
the little
Yeah.
grip color. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we started lasering everything and like the more, and then you just, over the years, we just added bits of equipment and people and processes and stuff. And the whole supply chain expanded a lot. So with all these new tools, you got to find new suppliers for new nuts and bolts and pieces of things. And I've talked about this a lot on. I've mentioned it before on like another podcast I did where there was like I felt like I had to come up with a design philosophy for DiamondCore when I started because there was like the P1 and it was like how are we going to make more tools that fit into this family or aesthetic or this brand? Like what is the DiamondCore design philosophy or brand? Like what do you think about? And so a lot of that was, wood handles, like nice hardwood handles, the hardware, kind of this well, now I think of it as like kind of clunky, but like big hardware pieces holding everything together, but nice stainless steel and the grips. And so that sort of philosophy influenced, all the new tools that I made all fit the same old hardware. They all fit the same handles.
Hmm.
They all like
Hmm.
you could um it was all sort of a system within itself.
It
And
had an
that,
identity.
yeah, it had an identity of its own.
Yeah.
And that lends itself too to the supply chain and manufacturing. Like don't use 10 different sizes of nuts and bolts, use like two. And so if you can make more products and use existing hardware like that, I've always been into that side of manufacturing. And like a lot of my experiences reduce, simplify things as much as you can. It makes a big difference.
I'm
Okay.
so jealous. Uh, I think that like what you have done and like what you like the kind of the career path that you've done, even though I know that there's been ups and downs, obviously everybody has those. But like that's like the way your brain thinks is the way my brain thinks, and I feel like I would have thrived so well in that like environment. And I still could, but I don't want
There's
to.
still
I'm not.
time. Yeah,
No, I
there's
don't
still
want. I'm
time.
good. I don't need a degree. I don't need another degree. I don't need that. But it's so like that the way you're talking and like what you're talking about is so exciting to me and so interesting. And like and I can see it at my previous job.
Hmm.
The like and I'm like constantly being like, well, why can't we do this? Why can't we do this? Why are you doing this? Why can't we do this?
Yeah.
Like, and so yeah, I think it's like really cool. You can tell that your brain works the way like I'm sure it took some time to get there, but I feel like it was a good fit for you. It
Yeah.
is a good fit for you.
No, it was. Yeah.
Yeah, and being at DiamondCore, whether that like was good or bad, I'm sure it was both. Um,
Yeah.
I'm sure it was both, but like it set you up so well for what you're doing now, you
Yeah.
know?
Oh, 1000%. Like that. And that's where it's like, and even like my job before Diamond Core, like the solar industry, and then plus Diamond Core, both combined, you like put those in a blender, and that every bit of both of those has been critical to what I'm doing now
Yeah.
with
What
bushcraft.
solar
And yeah.
company, by the way?
It was
Off brand.
called Mia Soleil.
Oh, okay.
You
I've never
probably
heard
never
it.
heard it.
Okay,
So
fine.
it was like thin film, so it was flexible. So it was like solar panels that were a millimeter thick, and you
Cool.
could roll them up and stick them to things. And it was really, really
Wow.
cool. It was super exciting. And very like a lot of just really smart, dedicated people to in very scientific. So
Yeah.
data oriented, and like the manufacturing of things, everything was high volume in China. Like I traveled a bunch to China to the factories and learned a lot about
Yeah.
true high volume
That's
manufacturing,
cool.
and like that experience in itself was eye opening. And of course learned a lot. And that's where like you think about nuts and bolts, and like if you eliminate one part on a product, you potentially eliminate at that job in the solar industry, like you eliminate one part, you could save millions of dollars of like shelving to just hold that one part. So like
Holy
it
crap.
just has this like ripple effect, where you talk about like parts in a product, and like you get rid of something, you're not just like making the product simpler and like a few cents cheaper, you're making the factory and the process to make that product a lot simpler.
It
So
is
that's
really,
interesting.
yeah,
Mm.
that's so fascinating because like, um, I make something at work and they were talking about like making a new mold for it, and everybody knows who's ever made a mold. It's really fucking
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah.
And like, and you think about that and like how much time it would save and how much headache it would save and all these things, and you're like, do we make the mold? Do we not make the mold? Like,
Yeah.
I don't have
Yeah.
any decision in that, so I'm a tourist there. Um but yeah, it is wild like how one decision and one change can save so much time and headache. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
And then it's going to
And
open up
yeah.
doors of new problems that you probably haven't had as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. No, and that's the thing, like in retrospect, you're like, oh, we should have done it that way, or we should have done this. And like, I think the way I've built Bushcraft now and the way it operates is so different than Diamond Core, and in every way. Like it's like polar opposite. But that's because I feel like I learned what works and that like what doesn't work and what not to do
And you're not stuck within the
previously.
constraints of we have to fit this identity because it's
Yeah.
been the identity for years. You're like,
Yeah.
I'm starting from scratch. What do y'all want to do?
Full
If I
clean
had,
slate. Like you,
I
yeah.
mean, obviously you have like financial constraints probably and other things like that, but and
Yeah.
sourcing and material costs and all that stuff.
There's
But
still constraints, but you're still like
yeah.
it's wide open. You can I could kind of go anywhere. And that's where it was like I literally got rid of all the tools, and started from zero, and was like, okay, I do a lot. Like I got to start somewhere. And of course, starting a business takes a lot of money and capital to start. And that was all coming from my bank account, which is super scary. And so it's like, okay, if I do this, like I can't like take too long to do this. Like I need to make some sort of money sooner than later. And where do I
Mhm.
start? And I do a lot of carving. So I was like, I'm going to just start with a carving tool, because then I can use it and I can make content and I can build the
Hmm.
Instagram. And like, that's what I'm going to use the most is trimming and carving. Like I can do that all day. So that's where it started.
Mhm.
When did you start the Instagram?
It like the end of July, I think, was our first post. But I started it for my pottery. So
Right.
because when I left Nicholai, I wasn't even sure I was going to make pottery tools. I was like, maybe I can sell some pottery. Maybe I can make some other products. I was going to go into outdoor products. Um, there was, I like, didn't really, I had a plan, but you don't know exactly how it's going to go. And so I started the Instagram more I need to start building like sort of like credibility of like, I know how to make pottery. Like I can make a pot, I can carve a cup. So I
Mhm.
started just posting that more and more and trying to just build it that way because then I knew if I ever had a tool and then started to build this brand, then at least there would be some history and some something when
Yeah, it
people go
doesn't
look.
look like a just your logo on day one of
Yeah,
the post, and you're
yeah,
like, I'm a new company. Here it
yeah.
is.
Which is tough. Like you're walking into a room with a bunch of people and you're like, hello, like, look at me. Like this is a new
Look
company.
at me.
Um,
It's funny, it's like I'm like, man, okay, so I think I don't even know if I did it or not, but I think I contemplated starting a new Instagram just because starting over sounds so much easier than continuing. Like,
yeah, no, it
and
it
like
is.
maybe I could do it in the way that I want to do it, blah 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 blah, you know. And you've got 17,000 followers just in a year, and like you're killing it.
It's been, I
I've got
mean, it's a lot of work.
hell yeah, it's a lot of work. I'm not, yeah, I'm saying like you're
Yeah.
amazing. And I've got like 18,000 followers in like 10.
It's
Like,
tough. It's tough.
and I'm just like wondering, like, I don't know, like, yeah, part of me is like, maybe I should start a new one, maybe I shouldn't, because like, or maybe I could keep both, I guess, but like, it almost seems like Instagram and the nether worlds of all the socials is like so mean to people that have been there for a long time who haven't moved, you know? But who
Yeah.
knows? Anyway,
Is it
I was
also
just
like a
wondering.
mental thing of like closing a chapter on a certain part
Maybe.
that you're like, I
Yeah.
want to be away from that name or that whatever it is? I mean, you could
Yeah,
change the
maybe.
name, the account name, obviously,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's like
People
closing a
still know
chapter
you.
on
I know.
something and then
Yeah.
you're on to the next
Yeah, they still
chapter.
know you. I know, it's just kind of like interesting to did you have an Instagram at all before? Did you like
Yeah. I've always had a personal Instagram, but I didn't post for like 5 years. Cause
You
Oh
didn't
yeah.
have your own
I
like
used,
pottery
yeah,
one that you were posting
something,
to.
yeah. In like through college, I had a bunch and I draw a lot too. So like I was drawing and posting that, but it was very much like everyone's like personal Instagram, but I'd never done. So when I started the bushcraft one, I was like, all right, this is different. This is like a
A
future
new start.
business, something. Yeah, it's a new start.
Yeah.
And it is like you feel like, okay, this is like people from that old world don't necessarily know this new world, and people from the new world don't know the old world. So you can make it whatever you want,
Make it your
which
world.
is cool. Make it
Hmm.
your world. Yeah.
Maybe I'll do that. I don't know.
That'd
I'm
be
not telling
interesting. Yeah.
anybody.
I'm
I'm not going to
curious
tell
when you were
anybody.
We won't know
kind
what it is. You might already be doing it. Yeah.
you're kind of
When
talking
this comes
about,
out.
stepping out and you didn't even know if you wanted to keep doing pottery tools or not. Like, and the ceramic tool market's like super crowded. Obviously, there's so many
Yeah.
options.
Yeah.
When you started Bushcraft, were you trying to like solve certain problems or gaps in the market that weren't being addressed, or were you just kind of like, this is something that I want? How were you kind of approaching the need?
So both of those, like it was something I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I reached a point where, well, oh, this is so intertwined with many things, but I left DiamondCore very, like very what I would hope to think is like very professionally, very clean, very, it was very intentional, the timing and everything, but I kind of wanted like nothing to do with them ever again. And so I was like, I need to distance myself as much as possible. And so I was going to go into like camping gear or like, completely in another realm. And then I just was like realizing that, um, our whole lives, like my wife and I we both do pottery. I've always done it. It's like I can't, it's just so intertwined with my life and our life, and it's my passion, my art. I know everyone, not everyone, but like I know the industry. I know all the players. Like I'm friends with, you guys and all the other manufacturers and all these
It would
people from
be
all over the world.
it
It's,
would be a
yeah,
freaking shame to lose you, like when you're already in it, you know?
yeah. And it'd be like, I wouldn't just be leaving. Like I realized I like had so much more in the pottery world than just diamond core. And I was like, well, I know all these people. I have all these connections. I love pottery, and I think I can build a better business and a better. brand, and like that was a fun challenge to think about.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
which and that's like that was kind of someone had suggested it to me like over the years, in talking to family and friends. Everyone's like, why are they're looking at things like, why are you still there? Like you're doing all the work, you're just printing money for them. Like, why would you not just go start your own tool company? And it's like, I don't, that was hard to think about. Like, it's hard to imagine just starting fresh and like going into this industry and being like, here's a new tool brand. Like, how's
Yeah,
that even
you go from
possible?
having a job to being a small business owner. That's a
Yeah.
way different
Um,
ball game.
And it's
it's way
like,
different.
hey, remember me? I'm the same person, but also I've never been here before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
No,
yeah,
and
that's crazy.
that's a trip. And so that part was like difficult to like try, but then again, it's like once it got rolling and like you just gotta kind of do it. Like you just gotta start, I guess.
Hmm.
But yeah, so yeah, I
You
want
do
to
have
answer the
to
question. I do want to do it.
you do have to jump in sometimes,
Yeah,
you know? Jumping in the fire is a lot easier sometimes than dipping your toes.
yeah. No, you can't really, and I couldn't just dip my toes. Like I couldn't, you know, do that and also be
Yeah, it's
there.
hard to differentiate
So
the intellectual property side of it of like where do the
yeah,
ideas come from? How do I turn that off of like, oh no, this isn't related to that job.
yeah. No,
This is like this is my new thing, you know?
there's a hard line in the sand, and like I have been extremely careful and conscious of that. Where it's like when I left, like I you know walked them through and gave them absolutely everything that they would want or need, and then there you go, and I completely like started
Separate.
over, like literally new thoughts, new ideas, new everything. Like you got to start fresh. And then a lot of, what I've done is like look for inspiration in the world. Like, okay, what tools are out there? What tools are not out there? What do people actually want? And like again, it goes back to like starting from scratch. You're not limited by um existing designs or that image or that look of anything. It's like what do people actually want and what would I use in carving? And um, so I just completely started over, and that's kind of how you get to where we are.
Hmm.
We're proud of you. Or I mean
Oh,
I am.
thanks.
I assume that
I'm
he
proud of you
is
too.
too.
Yeah, it's great
I
to see the rise and the evolution already.
No,
I'm not
it's
gonna lie. Well, I think I've told you this, but when we were at ClayCon West, I remember seeing you and Kira, who I called Sierra for 4 years. Um, which
I'm
I'm
sure you're
blaming
not the
her
only
for
one.
that. I'm blaming her for that.
no, you're
I
not.
can't
Yeah, you're
even
not the only one.
I can't even tell you when Patty found out that her name was Kira instead of Sierra, she ran to me and was like, Becca, what the fuck? Um, anyway,
Yeah.
when I saw you guys first at ClayCon West, I was like, they look really nice, but they work for DiamondCore.
I was working on
I
you,
know.
Becca. I was like, Nikolai's gonna
I
sway you.
know.
We're gonna,
No.
you gotta get that connection so that
Yeah.
you can
And then you
do.
almost had me and then you left, so it was fine.
I know. Yeah. It worked out. I'm glad that worked out. But that was part of that was part of it. Is like Kira and I went to ClayCon for 4 years, 5 years, like for a long time, and like we knew we were the only ones that went from Diamond Core, and like no one,
Yeah.
we knew everybody. Like all the connections to artists and people were through, myself and Kieran, like just because we love talking to artists and we like to talk to people, we like going to that
Yeah.
stuff,
Hmm.
and we both do pottery.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
but
where
yeah,
like the
and so
company's only so much. The people are. It truly is like a relationship game, and anything that you're
it
doing,
100%.
small
Yeah,
business, selling, relationships are the
yeah.
core to like
That meant
everything.
everything. That's like when we
Hmm.
had the first tools. I reached out to all the you know like every artist I knew, and a lot of like all of them, every single one is so supportive. I mean, our artist community, the pottery community, is a community, and like I feel like we all support each other, and everyone is very supportive. And like when I
Hmm.
kind of, you know, I didn't want there to be like a gap in continuity. Like that was why, like when I left, we knew we had to go to NCECA, we knew we had to go to ClayCon, because if we missed a year, then it's not like people forget, but you sort of have this
They do.
gap. and they do. And we were like, we got to show up. We got to show up at ClayCon with a new brand, and we got to show up at NCECA and like make a show of it. Like we got to, really make a show of it.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of the reason to like, I didn't start designing the tools until September, and 6 months later is NCECA, and it's like we really gotta like hustle this, and like,
Yeah, that's
what's
quick.
the one thing that we gotta get done? So
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, you hit it on that. Like as somebody that's been out of it and then went back to it twice now, it's harder every single
mhm.
time.
Yeah,
So, and
it's
it's
tough.
like and it's doable and those people that are with you all the way keep you there, but the yeah, it's tough. It's tough. So you definitely did that right.
Well, yeah, no, I'm glad. It was a lot of work. It was like it was tough.
Yeah.
But it worked.
I'm curious. I mean, obviously, you all did gain a ton of momentum from ClayCon and NCECA. I'm curious from
Mhm.
a the business standpoint in your younger business, like what value do those conferences bring besides just selling the products there?
Yeah, I think a ton, and a lot of that goes back to that relationship thing. It's all about relationships, everything, and connection to the artists and other players. So ClayCon, I think, was more. There were connections to some retailers and manufacturers, but like ClayCon is so different, where it's much more intimate. It's about the artists, and like that was where Kira and I both wanted to reconnect with a lot of artists and a lot of people we knew.
Hmm.
So that was really important, just to show up, and like now those people are like, oh yeah, like you guys are doing it, like you're real, like we're in it. Like it was sort of you know a gathering from that standpoint. And then in
Hmm.
Sika, I feel like in Sika, that helped sort of propel Sika all the more. And so then when we show up at Sika and we have a good like physical presence there, you know, people notice, and other manufacturers notice, and other companies and other distributors and wholesalers and shops and studios all over the world notice. And some of them I knew, a lot of them I did not know, and like met a ton of people, and like that has all been coming back over time. So um, the best way I can put it is like, you sell product at NCECA, that helps a little bit. Like, of course, that helps just pay for itself, but the bigger payoff is spread out throughout the rest of the year, even till like literally today. We're shipping orders to retailers that we met at NCECA for the first time. So it's like that is it truly is like a longer game.
Hmm.
Mm.
Is it? Yeah, you're planting those seeds for future. Hopefully, they're going to bear
Yeah.
fruit. Some
Yep.
of them are going to
Yeah.
bear a little bit of fruit. Some of them are going to bear a ton of fruit,
Yeah.
and you're
And
going to
you
come
and
back
you
next
don't know.
year.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a
Yeah.
question, and you are more than welcome to scoot past this if you don't want to answer it. So you just change the subject. But and I don't need any specifics, but I was wondering because it was so aggressive and because you kind of had a leg up, just with how you've been just your connections and all that shit. Are you in the black?
Um. Oh.
Like
As a
Yeah.
financially, are you
business,
doing
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's especially after NCECA, we're doing good now. And it's a good question, because making money is very important to starting a
Yeah.
business. Like, believe it or not, like your business is not gonna do well if you're not making money. And the it was sort of like doubling up, because it was like not just starting a business, but then going to NCECA is extremely expensive. And
Hmm.
so there was like a tipping point there, where it's like, okay, we gotta, like, we can't do anything more. Like, I'm out. Like, the the tank's empty. We got to do all we can. And so NCECA helped sort of bring a lot of that in. But things now are doing really well. And what's cool about that is now there's like cash flow to go make new products and bring on new retailers and get tools closer to people in their local shops. And like all of that takes resources. And in order to, like, one of my goals was to keep the, they're not cheap tools. but I'm trying to be affordable and accessible and like really try to, the biggest thing is like matching the value to price. So it's like rather than have this huge gap between what you're paying and what you're actually getting, I'm trying to lower the price as much as possible and get the value up as much as possible. So they're at
Yeah.
Under
least equal
promise,
and,
over
you
deliver kind
know,
of thing. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
very much that. And so, but in doing that, it's like, it's tough. Like the margins are good, but they're not
Right. They're
what,
not the best.
well, and like everyone's always said, oh, you should be charging more. It's like I could be charging more, but like that kind of defeats, that goes against like one of the original values that I wanted to keep. And like I kind of refuse to, um when I go to make a product, I'm like, how low can we get this price versus how high can we get this price? And like at,
Is is some of that
yeah,
It's like a
is some of
dollar.
that margin based on like you're not a big enough company to buy enough units to make the price per unit low enough to
yeah,
where
that's a big
and then you've got
factor
to
for
sell enough
sure.
volume on
Yeah.
the other side of it to
Yeah. And
make
that's
up that margin?
going into it. That was my goal, was like, I want to build everything in favor of future volume and
Mm,
also in favor of wholesale and retail. And um, so it's like in the beginning, it's tougher because you can't buy very much. I was buying as much as I could afford. But now it's like, okay, now I have the cash available to go buy a bigger, um, a bigger order, but also like put things on a boat and ship it way slower and save this. And like you literally don't have the time and resources to do that in the beginning. So everything
yeah.
costs more, and you're kind of banking on, not banking on, but like you're planning on playing the volume game, which
High
is
is a high
how it
risk.
works.
It's a high risk at the
It
beginning with a
yeah,
reward at the end. Yeah.
yeah. And but again, it's like, oh, I want to use, I want to make new products. I hear from artists all the time of like, can you make this shape and make that product and do this? And like,
Hey, it's Taylor here from Backyard Kiln to tell you again how amazing my L&L kiln is. I bought it secondhand out of someone's carport with no idea if it even worked, and I learned to replace the elements and the controller and the thermocouples and install a vent system all from their free video support library. They've designed these kilns to be so user serviceable, it doesn't take a whole lot of know-how or any fancy tools. I had never touched a kiln before, and I was able to do basic maintenance just after watching some videos. And if I ever had a question or wasn't sure what to do, I just emailed or called their customer service line, and they were able to help me right away. Even now, they still help me out for free, even though it is a super old kiln, like older than my teenager, and still working perfectly, unlike my teenager. You know, the kiln does not complain, and it does what I ask it to the first time. Anyway, if you are thinking about buying a kiln or upgrading the one you have, definitely consider L&L. They are all I want to use for the rest of my pottery career. Check them out at hotkilns.com. That's HOTKILNS.com. Okay, back to the show.
there's so many things on the list to do, and that they all require time and money now. And it's like, okay, if we can make the business successful enough, we can go do all that stuff.
Then you
Um,
can hire me and I'll
yeah,
help you make products.
you'd have to move to San Diego, but I'm down. Like,
I can't do that.
uh,
I don't think Andrew's gonna go for
No
that.
remote employees at BuschKraft.
uh,
You're gonna come and play
no,
in
No.
I mean,
Seco.
yeah, that's the goal. And it's
I
like,
that's so cool though.
yeah,
I'm happy for you. Happy for you.
no, thanks. And yeah, it's like I want it to be um, and a lot of this again came from like I learned what not to do and what I don't want the values of the business to be. And it's like I want to prioritize future employees and like make it a good spot for them. And I've seen what happens when that's not a priority. And it's like, yeah, one day I would love to be able to hire people and like create a community of employees and like have it be financially um, very stable and very good for employees as well. And
Mhm.
I just think like I've seen it not happen that way. And so that's what I'm trying to do differently.
Yeah, I'm curious as like I feel like most people just don't have this experience to know like when to hire somebody. Like, how do you know when it's time to like, hey, it's worth investing X amount of dollars in somebody? And you're in California, so like, a
Yeah.
salary or like
Oh,
a part-time employee, how do you determine when it's enough, it's worth it to like start paying
yeah,
somebody to offload something when you
yeah,
don't know if the sales are going to be there, but you hope the sales are going to be there to be able to pay for them? Or maybe it's just a,
yeah.
what
Oh,
work are
it's
they
something I've
doing
been,
taking off me?
yeah,
I don't know.
I've been grappling that a lot recently, like a lot, because I've reached that point. And, I mean, up until this point, like all along, it's like it was me and Kira, like at night until midnight, putting tools together. And it's like, okay, I'm not like, I can't do that forever. But that's just what you do in the beginning. And then, um, content is important. Um, just like admin business activity is important. Designing new tools is important. And so I've been looking into, what does it take to hire someone? What do you do? What's that step? And asking that exact question to everyone else I know. And that is like, what am I saying? Like, you reach a point where the my time should be spent doing other valuable things for the business, like creating content, creating tools. And if all of my hours in the day are filled up putting tools together or shipping orders or
Hmm.
doing these things, it's like then it's time to um, find someone to and then like we've had friends help put tools together and stuff, and that helps. But it's like there's a point where we can't rely on just
You
friends
have to, you
anymore.
have to
So
work
it's
on
like
the business more
you
so
got
than
to
work
work on
in
the
the
business.
business.
Yeah. And that's a big thing. And so it's like I've just reached that point, which is like, okay, now what does it cost? Like, how do we make sure we have sales to keep that up? And like now your operational cost of the business jumps up quite a bit. But theoretically, your operational cost jumps up, but now your capacity to bring in more revenue also jumps up. Um, but you kind of gotta, in my opinion, you gotta hire first, and so you can bring on that capacity. Because if you bring that
Mhm.
capacity on first, then you're drowning, and it's not a good situation to even bring on someone.
Hmm.
I
You
have
had your hand
something
raised.
that, yeah, I had my hand raised. Also, I think one of my neighbors like just sitting out there honking their horn. I think it's Hattie next door. I think they're trying to get Hattie's attention. Oh God, it's the third honk. The third honk. It's a long
I can't
honk.
hear.
I can't hear it,
That's
Okay,
so
good.
good.
It's
Zoom is
good, but
working
it's a
working
long
like it
honk.
should.
Okay, my I this is a little bit backtracking, kind of in the same realm of like finances and stuff. Well, it definitely is. I just need to make sure you're saving your money for taxes because
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
okay, good. I just that's it. That's all I needed to ask. I just wanted to make sure.
No, that's a big factor. Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, there's a lot. And like it's
Because you
different because
worked
like
for somebody before, because it's a lot different. Like, tell him how
yeah.
much you paid in taxes, Ryan. Tell him. Tell him.
Actually, that number was off, but I overestimated it a little bit because for some reason my day job was pulling out taxes, but I was paying like $27,000 in income tax from
Oh
to the
man,
federal
yeah.
government for making money in the pottery, but
I
for
believe
some
it.
reason a lot of that money came out of my day job, so I actually got money paid toward 2026, so I don't actually have to make estimated payments this year. But yeah, it's a lot.
That's tough. Yeah. No, there's a lot. And that like that's what I'm trying to even, work with now because it's like again, that's just a time thing. Like, am I the best person to as the business grows, like am I the best person to manage the higher level of accounting and tax for the business? No, like definitely not. I'm making tools. Like that's what I'm much better at. And so I can get things started and like I've gotten things this far, but it's like, even now I'm looking into like proper accounting and like hiring, fractional CFOs to come in and just like set things up right. So as we continue to grow, it's it's stable. And yeah, and tax is a huge part of that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
a lot of it's like building this system in place so that it's taken care of. You don't think about it.
Yeah.
You feel it a little bit at the front end because you got to pay for it, and it's like, ugh,
Yeah.
I don't want to pay this consulting level price for this thing, but it's like, you got to do it because it's going to give you a lot of peace of mind, not having to worry about, oh
Yeah.
shit, did I do accounting this month or not?
Yeah.
Uh,
And
shit.
it
I
gives
would
me a
just
lot of peace of mind.
feel, I would just like not feel bad, but just like it would be such a fucking bummer if you had everything right and then the finances were off, and that's why
Yeah.
you had to go, you know?
Yeah. No, it
So,
no, it that that's what I don't even want to think about that, which is why I mean, a lot of people would make different decisions, but like I'm more than happy to invest in like the right person to help set all that
hell
stuff up
yeah.
correctly. And it's like I don't, again, it's like I think if you put the car together right in the beginning, like 100,000 miles down the road, you're going to be running a lot better. Um,
Mm, yeah.
and so I, and it's expensive now for sure, but I think it's worth it because we're going to get a lot more mileage. And like again, it goes back to like I've just seen it done ways that come back to bite the business and the people in it, and it's messy and cumbersome, and you end up paying more. It ends up costing a lot more money down the road.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm
Um,
curious. And
yeah,
also in some of those companies, it's like you've made so many decisions up until this point that you almost feel like you don't want to just sweep everything off the table and start fresh because it costs way more to do that. But
yeah,
also it may need to get to that, like you don't want it to get to that point where you have to do that.
yeah, right. No, and that's a big thing. It's like that I saw. I think just seeing a lot of, again, like it all goes back to DiamondCore a lot of the time, but it's like seeing how things were run there, and like I was responsible for the product and everything before it, pretty much. Um, but like there were a lot of points where I was pretty involved in the finances of the business, not necessarily from a decision perspective, but just from like a looking at it and evaluating it and having to consider like, is that a place that I want to stay? And like it just like it's not like it wasn't like it was just too messy. And that's even more motivation now to just do things correctly and take the time to do them correctly and set them up correctly. Um, Even if it costs a few more dollars, like
Hmm.
it'll be okay. It's worth it.
Yeah, and I would imagine at some point if you've got 25 different tool options or something, like getting to the point where you decide, okay, this was kind of a flop. We like for the
Yeah.
betterment of all the other tools, we need to like sunset this tool, get rid of it because
Yeah.
it's not holding its weight. And maybe you've got a lot of like inventory or something of this product that are left because you scrap it, but it might be better for the longevity of the business to do that.
Yeah.
And
No, and
that's like
that
a good
it
financial decision, but it might be tough to rip that band-aid off and like decide to do
yeah.
that.
There's a lot of things that and that's totally true. It's like even now, I wanted to start simple. Like just we got one tool, we got the Dragonfly system. But like now I'm looking at our inventory and our shelving, and like on paper, we have close to like 50 SKUs, which is a lot. It doesn't look like that many, but when you think about every variation of everything, that all adds up. And people want to buy just a blade pack of one type of blade. So you have 15 blades, now you have 15 tools plus 15 more blade packs for each of those tools, plus another set, plus so it
Hmm.
just adds up very quickly. And so that's why even recently, like we came out with new blades, and I intentionally like did not want to have like individual tools for all those shapes, which saved like another 20 SKUs. So it's just like you can get, and again, it goes back to this, like you can get just a handle and you can get a pack of blades and you can experiment and play all you want. But you don't have to buy five individual tools. And if you want five tools, you can just buy five handles and a pack of blades. But that's six, that's literally like two SKUs versus 15 SKUs, which again, we go back to shelf space and storage and inventory, and it all like just extrapolates from there.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like most of us don't
Yeah.
have to worry about SKUs, but you're
No,
also
I
if you're
know.
trying to
Like,
fulfill an order,
yeah,
if you're trying to fulfill like 50
yeah,
orders and you don't have them prepackaged of like where do I go find that on the shelf,
yeah.
and somebody is
Um,
assembling an order and they're pulling, they're pulling blades out of like a bin, like this is the box that has all of these blades, and you've got to
yeah.
like pull that out and start piecing it together, like you're bound to have some issues that arise.
No, it's a lot. And you're gonna make mistakes. And like everything we will pre-box everything. So it's like we can, but again, it's like we got to go now assemble all those little boxes of different blades and put stickers on them. And it's like, do you want to do that 20 times or do you just want to do one thing 20 times? So,
Yeah.
but that, I mean, that's what we live in day to day here, you know, creating things and shipping them out. But that part's fun too, because it's very, you got to be organized and it's very technical.
It's a lot.
Are there parts of like owning and operating the business that you found is like really surprising, like enjoyable,
Yeah.
more so than you thought? And also the flip side, like what is the most challenging parts as well?
Oh man, like keeping up. I think, I mean, it's fun if you own the business and someone buys your tool, like every single order feels it's like a personal, like, yes, like, oh, like, look at this. Like, we sold another tool to this artist somewhere in the world. And like that never goes away. And like that, I think it's not that I really expected it to go away, but like that feeling of like when you get an order and it's like same thing if someone buys your pottery, it's like, wow, like someone wants this thing that I created. Like that feeling doesn't really ever go away. Um, so that's really cool. And then I think the part that can be tough is that, you know, it's a double-edged sword, but like you keep getting orders, so you're always going to be running out of something. You're always going to be like there's always a problem or a challenge or something going wrong, and like you can't let that burn you out, even though it's wanting to, like it tries to. Like there's just always something wrong. It's never. And
Yeah.
yeah, I heard this somewhere where like as a business is growing, like if you're, if it's growing a lot, like you're always going to have a little bit of chaos, just a little bit of like
Always.
it's you're never going to feel like it's all put together. And like as soon as you feel like it's all put together and you don't have problems, then you start to worry about it not growing or about like
Yep.
what's not going, like how, like what's slowing down, like what's
Yeah, you're like,
happening
am I
here.
at peak efficiency or am I like
Yeah,
lacking somewhere because I have too much inventory? What's going on?
yeah, no, and that happens too. So it's like I'm either worrying that like things are too slow or worrying that things are too fast, and you're just constantly
Yeah.
bouncing back and forth between those.
Yeah,
But it's fun. But like that's what is exciting. Like every day is just sort of um, exciting. You know, it feels like we're not like curing diseases or like really changing the world all that much, but it's still like making new tools, and every little bit is like there's something exciting going on. Or
You should stop. You need to stop saying that because you are making people's lives better. And like, I think that something that I had to like, um, this is kind of related, but not. But when we started doing the podcast and people are like, why aren't you talking about real life issues?
yeah,
And because they do say that. And Ryan put it into perspective. He's like, yeah, but like, we talk about pottery. Like
yeah,
that's what we're supposed to talk about. That's what we're talking about. And you're supposed to make tools. And you aren't curing diseases, but guess what? Somebody pottery is curing their depression. So like
yeah,
it is you are making a difference in people's lives. And and some people can't afford a DiamondCore tool. And so they buy yours instead. Or, that was not a jab at in any way.
yeah.
But like, like I think that when we're in arts like this, we tend to minimize the impact that we have on people, and we do have a big impact. So
No,
you should be
thanks. And
proud
that,
of
yeah,
yourself.
it. No, I appreciate that, and it like I think I see that when like I see someone's comment or a reply or email that they like got a tool and then that tool inspired them to create a new pattern or a new thing, or
Yeah.
they tried something new, and it's like, oh, that's neat because they did it, but like of course that tool sort of like kickstarted it for them. And so
Yeah.
that's the most exciting is like on Instagram. And like there was a point where you know, like I remember like the first, I don't remember what it was, but I remember like we saw someone post and they were using like the dragonfly tool, and it was just a trip because it was like, wow, this is
That's
like out
mine.
in the wild. You go see like this tool out there, and they were doing something really cool with it. They were making this awesome like piece of pottery, and
Hmm.
that I think that's maybe out of anything, that's maybe the most exciting that I didn't wasn't really prepared for is like seeing these tools naturally out in the world, just sitting on a table. And like even though they're not doing anything, they're like, oh man, that like creating something that now just is like sitting on a table like someone else's tool on their bench is like is really cool.
Hmm.
Hell yeah, that is cool.
And the like, I think a lot of the artists have those. I know I've had some experiences where you create something and you have some imagery on some form and it reminds a customer of something in their past. Or like I could
Yeah.
see one of your designs on one of your pieces. It brings back a memory of, oh, my grandmother made me this quilt and it had this design on it, and that reminds me of that
Hmm.
experience. And they're building that connection with you, and you created that design for whatever reason you created that design for on the piece,
Yeah.
but you're building that connection, and then you also made the tool and you crafted the tool to do certain things, and like all of those things kind of
Yeah.
build on top of one another.
I think I do, and that connection is important. Like that's something both Kira and I have. Like when we think about the values of the business and what are our goals, it's like connection with artists and people is really important
Mm.
because that will that will drive everything. That will help grow the business. That will help do everything, and it's all comes down to again connection with other people. And um, you know that goes it plays a role with creating content and like creating art and talking to people on Instagram or Facebook or wherever and like uh people have a question and then I create another piece of content and reply to that question like that just all like creates this buzz of connection between everyone. And it's another reason why like content I think nowadays is just so important, and even though like we talk about content a lot, but it's that's kind of like our way to connect, and there's so much content out there that if you can create sort of like authentic, real content, you'll stand out in a lot of ways. And I've just noticed that like a lot of other uh, tool brands and like at even at DiamondCore, like I was the only one that did pottery and like started their live streams and made their content. And, that's something that I felt like a lot of people I knew through that or had watched me on a live stream or for whatever reason, that was that connection. And so that was something now I'm like, I want to make sure we're at Bushcraft, we're the ones creating that content, like telling people how to use the tools, like all that original content.
Were
Hmm.
you the one when, okay, I'm having like a realization here. In I when I used to do lives, Diamond Core used to come onto my live and watch. Was that you?
I don't think that was me. I only did
Okay.
our lives. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, I mean, like, it's fine if it was. I was
Yeah.
just wondering. I was like, holy shit.
No, there were,
Um,
'cause there were a few people in that Instagram. I mean, I probably came on a couple times, but I went on live a lot, and then any like any videos or reels or pictures and stuff.
yeah.
That was
Because
usually
every time they would come on a live, I'm like, why the fuck are these people on my live? Like, they don't even like me. They know, they know who I am. They,
Hmm.
like,
no. I mean,
They're
I don't
like
know.
building up
Yeah,
evidence against you. They're like, all
yeah,
right,
they
I gotta be
were. That's
quiet.
what they
What am
were
I gonna say?
doing. That's what they were
no.
doing.
I always liked it. I knew what you were. I mean, yeah, you're fine. You're fine.
I'm just giving you a hard
No,
time.
no.
I was curious, like,
Uh,
because you did so many of those demos in it was more product demonstrations, seemed like, and
yeah, yeah.
kind of teaching in a way. And nowadays you are doing some in person and virtual workshops, kind of showing your
Hmm.
own techniques as well as promoting bushcraft. I'm curious if how that compares, and you're kind of showing your own stuff as well as hey, these are the tools that I've made, and maybe you get some immediate
Yeah.
feedback and that kind of thing. How is that different than what you were doing in the
Um,
past?
I feel like in the past it was so much more sales oriented and
Mm,
it was I mean everything there was geared towards another dollar of sales, um which is something I've I'm not adopting that philosophy with bushcraft because I think things will grow naturally, and there's a lot of like it shouldn't be about like pure raw sales, and like you mentioned earlier, like there might be a product that's just not doing as well. It's not worth hanging on to. Whereas like there, there's no way you could get rid of a product because you could potentially not get one single dollar from a sale. And like that, I
Right.
think that mindset bogged things down. And like I think there, every live stream, every piece of content was in some way, shape, or form geared towards a promotion or a sale or a uh what we were coming out with. And it was also why like any tool, I mean, in a way it helps because any tool like we made, I was like, I want to make sure I can demo this because I'm gonna have to like sell it. I'm gonna have to like get behind it. And like I always had a hard time getting behind like the sticky, for example. And so like if you look, like I don't think there's a single demo where I used the sticky product because I couldn't, not that I couldn't use it, I just like it wasn't part of my workflow. I wasn't good at
Yeah.
it. I couldn't, like I didn't feel like I could demo it or
You're talking about like
go
the
out.
sticky bat
The sticky
that you
bat,
would
the sticky
trim
pad,
on so
yeah.
it wouldn't move and stuff. Okay.
Um, and so
I
like
like the sticky pad.
no, and like a lot of people do. And like it,
Yeah.
it works great for a lot of people. It never was just part of my workflow.
Yeah,
Like
it's
I
like
can't, like I don't want to show how to use this poorly. And
Hmm.
yeah.
so
Which
It's
I
like
will.
yeah,
this dude works for
yeah.
the company and he doesn't even know how it works.
Um, and it's like and so like that was like always caused a point of contention. And like the whole sticky product in itself was a, you know, a a huge problem manufacturing wise and coming up with. And like so a lot of the time
I
it's like I didn't want to
can't
promote
even
it because it
imagine.
caused more problems, for us on the production floor. And that's a product that like is probably causing more problems and losing more money than it will ever make. But like, you can't get rid of it. You can't get rid of it. So yeah, I think that stuff all influenced. And so now with the live streams, like I'm just like, I just want to make a cool cut. I just want to make a cool carving. And I think in doing that, it will naturally bring
Hmm.
attention to the tools. And going and doing workshops, I'm trying to, any kind of workshop or demo or live, I'm trying to focus more on the technique of creating a design and carving, like actually like educate about pottery. And I'm just going to use my tools the whole time because they're going to be there, and like that's great. But like it feels much more like I like showing like a new technique or a design or a pattern and then someone else trying it, and like that's inspiring, and like that's really satisfying that people go, oh, I want to try this pattern that you did. And so I've been much more leaning into just sharing all of that. And I know some people are kind of protective over their designs and their style, which is totally fine. And I've like no problem with that. But I'm just much more on the side of like, I can always come up with a new design. I can
Mm,
always carve a little bit different. So, like, if you want to try to copy this one thing, I'll show you exactly how to do it and go for it.
yeah.
So that's been a lot more fun recently.
That reminds me of how Jeff from great. I'm gonna completely
GR Pottery
GR Pottery
Forms.
Forms
Yeah.
is like when he does his demos and stuff, he's just like he's so fucking chill and he's just like, yeah,
Yeah. He's awesome. Yeah.
He's
He's one
like,
of my favorite people. Yeah.
oh, I love Jeff. He's so funny. He's like, and like when he's done at a show, he'll just put a box up and like draw a face on it and put his name tag on it and walk away. Like
Yeah.
so
No.
classic.
He's awesome. And he's a big inspiration for bushcraft. I'm just like, I wanna be like him because all he does is get to go and meet all these people all around the
Yeah.
world and like just do pottery, and like he's going to use his tools, he's promoting his tools, but he is just building these connections and going to these
Yeah.
places and like that. And he has like such a genuine connection with people, and everyone can feel it. And like
Jeff.
that's honestly like he's
Jeff.
like a huge role model. So like
I
he's a
love
goal.
Jeff. I mean, I don't blame
He's
you.
great.
But when you
Yeah.
were describing how you're doing demos, I mean, that's the first person I thought of. I was like, Jeff. And it's just
Yeah.
shut.
No. And yeah, so that's the goal. That's the
He's so
idea.
Michigan. He's
Yes. No, I gotta go visit them. I
Yeah.
gotta get there.
Yeah.
I'm curious about the product development. Was the Dragonfly the first thing that you came up with, or was there a different one that kind of
It
started it?
was
Or
sort of well, so I actually started with the forge. Um, I started with the forge, which is like the trimming tools, and they're these they with the I have one, like with the magnetic handle and the blade.
yeah.
Because I like trimming, but then as that started, I like started designing that and developing it, and then I was like, oh boy, this is gonna take way longer than I think. I need something sooner. And I had the idea for the Dragonfly. I was kind of starting that, but I was gonna plan on that coming later for NCECA. And then so actually they flipped. So I realized that the forge was gonna take much longer.
Mhm.
And so then I really like put everything into the Dragonfly to try to get that done sooner
Mhm.
for ClayCon. And then I was really trying to hit like the tail end of like the holiday season, just because that's when everyone was looking for new tools and shopping. I was like, if I can hit that. And so the Dragonfly, like there was a really intense like couple months there where um I was like testing things and revisions every week, trying to get new parts, tweak them, get new parts, change them. And then at some point I had to just, spend a huge chunk of money and get inventory and then box them and package them and put them together and all that.
Mhm.
Um, and so that was intense. And then like finally the forge was kind of completed. Um, probably like end of in like February, just in time for NCECA, which was cutting it pretty close.
Okay.
But that just took longer. Yeah, that took longer to just figure out.
So you say they're like it was more complicated and like harder to get to a finished state. Like we just see the end product. So like
Yeah, yeah,
what kind of things are you iterating on? Is it is it like making sure it fits a certain way? Is it like the bevel on the carving? Like what does that actually look like from like a V1 or a like the first version to
yeah.
version 8 or whatever that's actually on the market?
Um, so so like for the Dragonfly, for example, um, I knew I liked the collet mechanism, just like that, like X-Acto knife mechanism, like super common. I liked it. I love it. Like you can tighten things and I tried a bunch of different ways of doing that. Like you have some, I don't know how to describe it, but like you have some collets where there's like the collet piece and you twist the part that tightens it over the top. And then there's others like this where it's like reverse. So there's like a couple ways to like design that without like showing you. Basically, there's a couple ways to make that mechanism. And I was trying to design it with the idea that in the future there's going to be all these blade shapes and everything should fit into one collet. And so I imagine if I had a big blade, I can't take the part that tightens the collet and put it over the blade. Kind of like if you think of like
Oh, okay.
a Dremel, you put the collet in and then you take this other piece and put it over the top of the collet and then tighten it and then you put the Dremel bit in.
Hmm.
Whereas like an X-Acto knife, it's already put together and then you just put the blade in. And so I like that mechanism better. Yeah,
Yeah, because like, yeah, okay, I just opened it up because I have one in front of me, obviously. And okay, so like the screw part that's into it is this it will always be that size.
correct.
It'll
And like it gets tight by the grip pushing up, whereas like a
yeah.
Dremel gets tight by the grip part pushing down. And
Now,
so
is there a possibility for the nope, nope, there's not. Never mind, I answered my own question. Is there a possibility for the inner cylinder to get smaller and it gripping smaller? There's not. Never mind. I
Hmm.
don't answer that question.
okay, well, so that I mean, I don't know exactly what you're describing, but the how much it can grip was a problem too, because and I kind of started with like the outer diameter of the tool. And I've said it before, but like I was inspired by just mechanical pencils and pens and like
Yeah.
nice pens. And, you know, I wanted it to feel really grippy with that knurled metal. And like, I don't really like smooth knurling. Like it's too smooth. So I really wanted something that was like extra grippy, and not everyone likes that, which is why the inner grip, like the alternate grip, comes into
Hmm.
play. But I started with that diameter and then was like, how big of a blade or a piece of metal can we put in a collet? And then when you're playing with that little blade and like the pin that it fits around, like you're sliding that in and out. Um, the first version, it was like way too tight, so it was like really hard to slide in and out or put the blade in. And so I basically had to make the inside of the collet as big as possible, that you had plenty of room to put the blade in. And if it wasn't perfect, you still had wiggle room to put the blade in,
Hmm.
and make that as big as possible while also still fitting in this smaller diameter of the overall size. So like there's a stack
Because
up that you
because
just
the pin is
in
just
there.
kind of loose. I've noticed when I've been
Yeah.
carving, sometimes the pin and the blade kind of slide outward a little bit as I've done a lot of carving, and then I just got to
Yeah.
tighten the
It'll
like push
you
it
can,
back
and
down
that's
and
the thing.
tighten it a little bit more.
You can just tighten it.
Yeah.
That was a
You're a
big thing too.
genius. This
It's
is so
you think
smart.
about it.
No, no, like, no. Okay, no. The reason I will tell you why I think you're a genius. I hate X-Acto knives because of one specific thing. It's because they get super loose. But more importantly, you can't, when you're tightening them, you're tightening the whole mechanism. You're not just tightening this, you're tightening the inner piece, and the
Yeah.
outer piece is tightening the inner piece, and
Yeah.
it's a screw that goes all the way to the bottom. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you're just gonna have to fucking buy one and look at it yourself. But that is so smart, because I was like, what's screwing it out? And then I realized that I had to actually hold the silver part
Yeah. The silver
to
part
screw it out.
tightens. Yeah. And
So
that, so like
fucking
as
smart.
that gets tight, the grip, it runs out of room. So the grip gets tight and then it pushes up on the silver and clamps it tighter. So that's what
Yeah,
grips the blade.
but what's the coolest part about this to me is at some point this grip doesn't do anything. Like you can move
Yeah.
it around, right? And
Yeah.
like when it gets a little bit tighter, that's when it catches. And there's nothing in there to catch it. It's just the fucking
It's just friction.
thing.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah. No,
metal
That
it is
is
the
so
flashing.
thing.
cool.
So
It's
no,
the
and that
shit.
and like Exacto knives, that part that does not like that grip is not necessarily a grip. It's more of like a nut. And so it's small. So like making the grip size was a big part. So like
Mm-hmm.
everything there is like extended. So you have I have one with an Exacto knife in it, but like normally this part is like really small and it's a pain to use. But I was like, I wanted to make that whole thing. That's the grip that you actually hold, and then the handle part. You don't need this big clunky handle, and so making that taper down shifted the weight up to the front, so it's balanced like right in the middle, like right on the logo, pretty much. So that's why when you hold it, it's almost tilting forward just enough so it feels really good. Whereas if this was solid all the way back, it would be back heavy and you'd feel
Hmm.
weird. Um,
I need to put, yeah, because I have an exactor right here and it's fucking
Actually,
garbage.
it
I need to,
my grip actually fits on there pretty good because I have one of the egg grips from DiamondCore
yeah,
that I put on there, and it actually grips tighter because it's nice and tapered, so I can actually get it on and off easier. Because
yeah.
sometimes I move it based on what I'm carving, but it fits like
Um,
really really snug when I get it all the way up by the handle,
let me grab a
by the top
And
of
the I was gonna
the
say
blade.
the inner grip is this part. So you can swap
Hmm.
that knurled grip for the inner part. And all that is so that will fit like any standard pencil grip. You can go to Amazon or go anywhere and get any
hmm.
pencil grip and that'll fit on there. Cause I knew like a lot of people wouldn't. The whole idea is like, let's make a tool that like over time I can come out with more bits and pieces and parts, and you can customize, they'll all fit
Hmm.
the tool you have and you can customize it the way you want.
Hmm.
And um uh and so coming up with like different grips and different components that would all be interchangeable was a big part of
Hmm.
that.
Because
And
that
so that like what we just said, that's like 10 iterations. That's like a bunch of
right.
little tweaks here and there.
Because I initially thought the grip that was on there was going to be really sharp,
Yeah,
the
it
like
is
cross-hatched kind
rough.
of
Yeah,
texture, but it's not as sharp
yeah,
as I thought, actually. I thought it was going to be like, oh, it's going to like indent my finger as I'm carving because I'm holding the
yeah.
tool
And
so tight, but
it
it's not.
does. So like some people, it's just so interesting because like I kind of like it more grippy. A lot of people do, a lot of people don't. And I hear pretty equally from both sides of like, oh, it's too rough. And that's where I'm like, all right, well, get the inner grip. You can make your own grip. You can put a foam grip on there, whatever you want. Like I have one here where I just wrapped like cord or string around it, and you can make your own grip. And then some people do really love the rough texture of it, and it's just that's how you gotta appeal to everyone.
Hmm.
Um, and the Yeah, and like so, I mean, there's a lot of really small details, and then like, is the texture of the metal, is it matte texture or shiny? And that I was going back and forth with, and those are all just little iterations, and then the blades themselves. Um, Actually, like I was planning on releasing the Dragonfly like the end of November, like Thanksgiving, like the week of Thanksgiving, and I got a bunch of blades in, and they weren't good, and so I was like, oh no, it's not good. And I went back. We ended up doing. I worked with the supplier. We did. I want to say like four more iterations of the blades in a span of like 3 weeks, and it was super stressful because I at that point I was like out of money, out of time. And I was like, I need to start selling something. And like I'd been like starting to build like this hype for the tools, and I was like, we got to start selling something, but I wasn't ready to like ship anything because the blade, like the metal wasn't right. They just weren't right. And we tried like again, like three, four, five different tiny little variations of metal and shape and size until we finally landed on this new material that's really, really good. And like as soon as like I couldn't be more happy with it, but that has as soon as that came in, then I started bending on the blades, and like I was bending all the blades here in the living room to start. So
Hmm.
that took some time. Um, but like all that again, it's just like many tiny little changes.
And it could have been a big flop. You could have had all this big marketing and brand behind it of like, oh, we got this great stuff coming out, and then you end up with the product and they get it and they're like, oh, this kind of was underwhelming.
Like
So,
every
Yeah,
Kickstarter ever.
so it's like, you only have that one shot in some sense. That first
yeah.
appearance is really important.
No, and trust me, I was like worried about that daily, multiple times a day. So Kira had to she kept talking me down, like, oh, don't worry, like it'll be fine. But there was a lot of time where I was like, I don't know if people are gonna like this. I don't like what if it just sucks? Like what if it doesn't work? And so,
But what if
you
it
know,
does?
but what if it does? Like you gotta ask yourself that every once in a while. And
I
it has.
just put an Exacto. Well, actually, I didn't put an Exacto blade in this. I put a scalpel in this because you know who?
Sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, you know who taught me to put scalpels instead, like use scalpels instead of Exactos? Kurt Hammerly.
Really? That's
Yeah,
cool.
he was like, "Yeah, I use scalpels now because they're sharper," and I was like, "Okay." And I this is his because I never actually bought any because I have like 25 billion blades. But anyway, I just want to let everybody know that putting an Exacto in this is lovely.
It
So,
fits, it'll work. Yeah.
yep,
And the
it's
reason
lovely.
that pin is loose is because that way you can fit like the tungsten blade. You can fit other tool tips that are solid. So rather than making it, because I
Right.
could have made it like all one, but then you'd have to switch the collet out. So this way, like if you take the pin out, the pin fits in the handle, so you don't lose it, and then you can put in like solid things. So in the future, you can put an Exacto blade in, or a scalpel, or like any other little poker.
It's fantastical.
It's on it. No, it turned out. It turned out. Um, but and yeah, that was kind of. I want to say that was like the easy one. The forge. Um, if we're talking about like iterations, the forge went through more than that because the metal for those blades. I tried a lot of different metals, and um, it's basically like my goal was like, how do you take like an Exacto blade metal but bend it into this weird shape that works for trimming? Um, and so it turns out that's difficult to do because a lot of those metals are extremely hard and they don't
Mm.
bend well, they'll just break. And so it was like, how do we find the right material that we can actually bend pretty sharply. Like the sharp angles on the like
Yeah.
some of the Forge L tools is like a really tight bend. And so it was finding like the right, basically like a knife maker that had metals that could make blades, but then also working with them to actually bend that metal. Um, and so for a while, like we were getting stress cracks on that bend, like it was literally cracking, or
Mm.
it would like some would just pop apart. And so
Because
they,
something that sharp has
yeah,
to be bent when it's hot. It has to be like warm and not molten, but like, does it have to be hot to be bent in that
yeah,
way?
like it'll help. But what, well, and in this case, like because the corner is sharpened, basically it's a blank that's all flat, and then it's CNC'd, like polished and sharpened in order to get that like razor sharp edge all over.
Hmm.
But then it's bent after the fact. And so um, that works a little bit differently. And so like the factory I was working with them ended up getting a I'm gonna mess up the name, but it's basically like a high, it's like an ultrasonic, not welding, but like an ultrasonic um it'll like they'll bend it and use like ultrasonic like vibration to heat it up enough to bend it
Mm.
to
Oh,
reduce
that's
the stress
cool.
cracks in the
That's
metal. I don't
crazy
know.
technology. Yeah.
It's crazy, and I don't know that much about that exact like machine or like process. Like I'm familiar with it, but it's like you know, it kind of took that long to figure out we got to do this thing in order to manufacture this one part
Yeah.
a bunch of times correctly.
You're way
And
past bending these in your garage.
yeah, like I mean, I can't do it. I don't want to do. And you could use a softer metal, but then it's going to wear a lot quicker. So it's like this metal is like a very hardened knife steel, so it keeps an edge for a very long time. You'll eventually wear through it, but you can sharpen it and treat it like a knife. It's going to be much harder though, and so that's where you're just dealing with the properties of different materials, and
Right.
then the cost of the material. And I don't want to, you could get a super like crazy exotic metal. It's going to cost a lot of money per piece, and that's not an option because I want the whole tool to be reasonable. So
Hmm.
you're picking and choosing all these characteristics and like trying to find a material that fits all of them as best
Hmm.
as possible.
Um, Before we started talking about these, I like took them out because I have a pair. All right, the three, four. They're yeah, I have three. The three things. Anyway, I was gonna be like, the one thing I hate about these is that they don't stack correctly. And then in my brain, I was like, you know what? He probably made this so that the magnet was actually in the fucking silicone and not in the tool, and you did. And so then I just
Yeah,
fixed the problem that I had with the tools that I made. And now they stack fine.
good.
But I do want to commend you on the like these feel so nice. Like they feel
They
so
turned out really
nice.
good. Um,
And also I had a question about, is the PRT dash 41002 SI, is that like
mhm.
the patent?
No, that's the part number for the blade inside.
Oh, okay. I was
Yeah.
wondering about
It's
that
a
because
part number.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, because do you have patents on these? Like, is that a thing? Like,
Um, I'm working on it. It's tough. It's talk about like time and money. That's a
yeah, because that's
like
what
it
I was
takes a
gonna
lot
ask
of
you
both of
about.
those. And so
Yeah,
I have a little bit of time. So I'm working on it, especially the the silicone magnetic handles.
yeah,
Um, and so I would like to get one. And it's like it's tough because like it's not like there's a secret recipe to it.
right.
You have them here. Someone could like buy it and like cut it apart and figure out how it works pretty
Yeah,
easily.
sure.
Um, but that's where it's like I think it's just who's gonna go spend the time to go figure all that out.
And who
That's
has
where
the
Yeah,
it gets tricky.
technology to do the same things or the connections and
Exactly,
right.
and putting all those
either the
And
pieces
are
knowledge?
together.
you, and then on top of that, are you gonna take the time and technology to sue them if they do it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like,
Which is a whole other question. So
yeah,
well, and that's where like, yeah, a patent will help. But also, that's where I think the brand is important because
Yeah.
at some point, I think you're gonna get if you make a product that's popular enough, it's gonna get knocked off, and there's nothing you can do. Like I just
100%.
that's the world we live in, and I don't want to, I'm not gonna lose sleep over that because it's inevitable. And I think people want to buy things for the brand a lot of the time, and so I want to put a lot of effort into building a brand that people want to seek out the original, authentic, the bushcraft tool because it's the actual one, not just the knockoff. And if it's affordable, it's not like they're going to be saving that much money in the future if there's a knockoff. You know, I want
Yeah,
them to kind of get
exactly.
the original. So that's a lot of the
Oh,
thought.
so
Hmm.
smart. Oh, so smart.
So
And it's
Yeah.
probably a
and
good
then
little
yeah,
kick in the back to keep you moving and keep evolving and
for
making
sure.
new
Yeah,
things and iterating to make it better so that you can stay a
yeah,
step ahead of everybody.
yeah. And that's where it goes to just you can always make a new design or you can always make a new pot. If you're making the same cup forever and ever or the same tools, like eventually people are going to try it, things are going to catch up. But like what's cool about us as humans is we can just come up with a new design. We can just like try something a little bit different. Um,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
that's like part of my philosophy behind it. But yeah,
Hmm.
new products is important.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
How
Wow.
yeah,
what goes into deciding what a new product is and like what you want to make? What, you know,
I think
if
a
it's a
little bit
brand
about like
new product or a new
yeah.
iteration, how do you decide?
Um, I mean, it helps if I want to make it because that's a big motivator. But I think what I'm doing with these is more listening. Like I want the market and I want the artist to drive a lot of that. And these two, between the Dragonfly and the Forge, there's a lot of possibility for all sorts of shapes and blades and inserts and things that all can fit within those two systems and families. And so I kind of see it as like I'm listening and whatever I hear about the most, I'm going to sort of gravitate towards making that thing. And it's cool because I get a lot of ideas, a lot of like people are always like, oh, you should make this shape or that or this type of blade or this thing that does that. And you'd be surprised how many things you hear about multiple times, a lot of times. And so and I won't even say like what because it's things I want to focus on that like it'll be surprised. But like you'd be surprised how many people think they have like an original idea and like, okay, I've heard that 10 times. It's a really good idea. Trust me, like it's only confirming that we should do that. Like I should come up with that new product or that new thing because it means a lot of people want it and a lot of people
Hmm.
want to see it. And so that's what I'm letting kind of drive things now because and there's plenty like that will carry things for quite a while because there's plenty of ideas.
Yeah. Ideas are
And then
cheap.
yeah,
Execution is
that's
where it's
tough.
at.
Yeah. And like, oh, it's like I want to do this much, but I gotta pick one thing for the rest of this year. And let's do that one thing
Yeah.
really, really well.
Hmm.
And then next year we can do one more thing. And like taking the time, I think going slow at that point. And that's something that like at DiamondCore, it was just new product, new. And as if that was like gonna solve all the problems and fix everything. And so like I created this machine, it felt like that would just spit out new products. And over time, they start to lose their flavor and like impact. And it becomes less and
Yeah.
less about fixing the problem and more about just being able to
Having
send
fun.
a new email to someone and grab a few more clicks and grab a few more purchases on that one thing. And so I think now it's like, okay, I want to make something that just has a lot more like value and meaning to it.
Hmm. Okay. Does like events like NCECA and ClayCon kind of build the pressure in some ways to say, I need to bring something new each time we
Yeah,
come to those conferences? Because that seems like a good like
that,
time of the
yeah,
year of saying, well, we have to have something for that thing that's coming up in January that we know is going to be here.
yeah,
Or
that
is it more
that's a
just,
big,
hey, we're going to move in the margins and improve the things that we already have as the core and we're kind of figuring that
It's a
out
little
still.
it's a little bit of both, but the holiday time to NCECA, like think November to March is like people want new stuff then. And like, yeah, if you can show up to NCECA with a new product, that will be all the better. I don't think it's the end of the world if you don't. Like, people are always going to find you for the first time, and like, there's plenty to do at NCECA. But it is a big, if you're going to reveal a new product, NCECA is like one of the best places to do it. So, um, or like holiday time or something like that. And so those times are definitely like, I think I gravitate towards trying to get stuff done for that time period. Um, but like, 2 weeks ago, we just released like these arc blades and detail blades, and that was a great, new expansion. A lot of people were asking for that stuff. It covers a lot of new areas and styles of carving, and
Hmm.
like, it's not in Sika, and it worked great. Like, totally fine. So,
The arc blade was what
um,
I was waiting for. I was like, all
I know.
these really tight line
Yeah,
ones are not really for me. They're not really my style. But the arc blade was what I was holding out for. So
yeah,
we got it.
and a lot of people in that boat, and like me too, is like, oh, I really want to carve. It's a totally different style of carving, and like a completely different uh way of using them. And so I saw the arc as like accessing a whole new, you know, population of artists that want to try this particular style or do this thing. And
Hmm.
the detail blades are great. Like, I love Sgraffito. That's kind of like my personal, favorite. Not even favorite, but just like, I really enjoy Sgraffito and relief carving, and that's why I started there. But like the arc blades, and I want to work on some like fluting blades. I get a lot of requests for that, I'll say. So that's next on the list, but like, I got to do that. I got to come up with a whole new way of, a whole new blade for that. But that's a whole other world of carving. Um,
Yeah.
I didn't even know about the arc blade, so here I am.
That's basically
And
yeah,
the standard width blade that
yeah,
I use on
kind of
all
like
my
your
carvings
classic.
pretty much is
yeah,
I need something wider than the detailed one.
Yeah,
So
and deeper too. Like, it's got that arc to it, so
yeah,
it'll
yeah.
cut in.
Okay, I'm leaving pretty soon, but I wanted to show you that I used yours, what I used them for. Um, uh, Look at this. I made fidget stones that have inners
Oh,
and
that's sweet.
outers, and they're like holes so you can like move them around and stuff. But like, it's just
mm,
super simple,
That's
obviously.
cool. Yeah.
But
Oh, I love it.
but I use the because I admit that I don't carve very much. I used it to kind of like do those deep cuts, and yeah, it worked really well.
No, good. I think I may have seen those or something. I think I saw them, but
I saw you.
that's like
Yeah, I
a
saw you
good
were rock
example.
tumbling
Yeah.
something. Is that what's being rock tumbled?
Yeah.
No, there's jewelry being rock tumbled. I unfortunately, I made earrings and I made them a little too big, so they're probably gonna have to be tumbling for like a fucking week. Honestly, I probably should just remake them, but here we are. So we'll see. They'll look really good by the time they're done.
It could be
So
like a necklace or something, like connect it and just do like a
yeah,
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. No, and like, that's an example of like, I wanted a thought of making those little fidget stones, but they're awesome. And like, it's cool to see just how you use this one tool, this one shape to make that thing. I don't know. I enjoy seeing all that stuff.
yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm leaving. You guys can keep talking, but I
All
have to go
right.
make
I'll
dinner.
I'll wrap it up with a couple last things. Becca, any last
Okay.
questions before you head
No,
out?
but
No.
this has been lovely, and I'm so glad you finally came on. And
Oh, thanks for
because I've
having
been asking for like a year and a half, so. But
me.
He's got his own company now, so it seemed fitting.
yeah, I know,
Oh
totally.
no, it
Yeah.
worked out.
Um, yeah, so happy to see you. And also tell Kira that I'm finally out of my depression and that I'll finally make those earrings and I still have all that shit. So
Oh, she's no rush. She'll love them whenever you get them. She appreciates. I'll tell her though. Hopefully we'll see
they'll
it at
probably come in
ClayCon.
like 3 more years. It's fine.
Oh, you're good. No,
Um,
yeah, no worries.
yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be a
It's great
surprise.
seeing you. Yeah, it's really
Yeah,
great
you
seeing you. And
too.
like, thanks for having me on here.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right. Bye.
All
We'll
right.
see it.
I have one
Yeah.
more question. Let's see. I feel like this is a good ending, I guess. Like you've kind of talked about looking ahead, but like, what are you most excited about looking for the future of bushcraft as you're going, this year or,
Oh man,
the
yeah.
possibilities even further?
Um, I think now so it was hard to look ahead not that long ago because it's like you don't know if things are going to work. And I think what's more exciting now is seeing that the company is doing really well. And now it's sort of like it sort of has allowed me to think bigger and like what can we do with a company that's successful and like has resources to go like sponsor new things and create new tools and create new programs. Like I think it goes beyond the tools. Like even today we were talking about like what if we opened up studios or like art therapy classes or education or things like you know, what big things in the world of art and pottery, and not even limited to that, can bushcraft start to do as it becomes bigger? Because it's very difficult to do those things as a tiny little company, and I want to keep a lot of the aspects of a small business. But once there becomes sort of resources and like ability to create things as a even just like a little bit bigger company, uh, it's exciting to think about like the possibility of new whole lines of tools or like reaching out into other parts of like the art market, not just pottery, but just like drawing and pens and pencils and like uh, impacting people that way. So I think that is exciting to just think about like if you have a little bit more momentum and like firepower that you can use to create things and sponsor people and uh, create like not just the world of art, but just like products and impact people's lives in that way. Like, what can you do? And so I think it's exciting to just see to be able to think a little bit bigger um, in terms of that. So I know
Yeah,
it's
and
not
like
like an exact thing, but that's the thought.
you have the control of like what decisions you're making throughout
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you're not
and that,
acting on behalf of a bigger company anymore. You are the company, you're, building something new. So,
yeah, and that
yeah.
that's yeah, and it's tough to you got to make hard decisions and like this, making some decisions that might result in a little bit slower growth, but it's going to be a more solid foundation, more quality like of an organization, I guess. Making those decisions because I'm looking at it like, I don't know, we're pretty young in our careers. Like I think we got a lot of time left, and making decisions now for the next 10, 20, 30 years, like we got a lot of time, so we might as well put the effort into building that foundation now that will carry it a lot further rather than just you go too hard too fast now and I would burn out, the
You burn
company
out,
would
yeah.
burn out, something would crash, something would break, fall apart. So, I foresee a lot of fun stuff. I don't even know what it is, but like 10 years down the road, a bigger company can make those things happen. Um, but you got to kind of build that foundation now.
Yeah. Okay, I lied. There's one more question. Is there
Yeah.
something that you can do now, like on a random day or like day to day, that you couldn't do, like working for a company? Maybe it just gives you more flexibility that you don't have your head thinking about work things, or like, is there something you can do now that you run your own business that you're just like, oh, I can like take a walk in the morning, or like something like
Yeah.
that
Oh,
that you can do on a
literally
daily basis
exactly
that you
that.
really enjoy?
Yeah, exactly that. I take our dog Bodie to the park, but I'll do it all times of the day. And like I work from home, which is nice, and I kind of want to keep things as simple as possible. But you know, I can literally just like stop and just like leave, just like walk out anytime, and it's okay. And
Right.
that I think is like really helpful to do every once in a while. And it literally is like go to walk to the park or go to the beach or something. Usually it's involved with taking him Bodie somewhere because he loves going on walks. Um, but like that's something I think you can't do if you're stuck in like that big job. You're stuck in that routine of whether it's 9 to 5 or any just shift or any day. Like you just can't. There's sometimes you just like gotta go on a walk, and I wasn't able to do that for a long time, and now I can do that whenever, as long as I want, a short, and
Hmm.
that goes along like that helps a lot. And so it's something you can do even if like you are kind of stuck somewhere, if there's a way to create time to just go on a walk, do it. But it's been nice. Like, or I can go just do some pottery. I can make something. So that's a good break too.
Yeah, and it's hard to like understand the value of doing something like just taking like I go to the walk to the post office most days when I have a
Yeah.
package to ship. And I'm like, I just built it into a routine. It's just something that I do every day now. But
Yeah.
I know that at a greater level, it is beneficial to step away from a screen for 30 minutes or listen to a podcast that I enjoy like laughing at
It's
or
just fun.
whatever.
Yeah.
Like something that gets you like kind of isolated in a way that like just is yourself for a period of time so that you can just enjoy
Mhm.
life a little bit and recharge a little bit. And that's
Yeah.
going to
No.
benefit the work that you need to do the rest of the day or refocusing your mind or whatever it is.
Yeah. And I'm sure you notice it too, but like your quality of work later is much better. If you and I mean I still have that problem where it's like working too much. I should take more breaks. Um Not even a break, but it's like I should mentally remove myself more to just
Yeah.
go
Yeah,
get
your
some
list
space.
is never
Because
going
it's
to
like
end. Like there's always
it's
more
never
stuff
gonna
you
end.
could be
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
and it's hard to draw that line of like, I'm going to call it at this time or whatever.
Yeah. And again, that goes back to like, when do you hire? When do you outsource? When do you like have someone help you with this one task that's just starting to take more and more time? Because you can't do everything. And like part of growing a business is um, finding the right people for the right jobs and the right parts that you can trust them to do it. And that, you know, makes it so you can put all your effort into other tasks that are valuable that only you can do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thanks so much, Nikolai, for joining us. It was a much overdue.
Oh,
Again,
man,
we
no, thanks for
definitely
having me.
appreciate your support for the podcast and
Oh, for sure.
talking about tools that we use and like appreciate and learning a little bit more about it today. Definitely think the
No,
audience is going to appreciate that as well. So appreciate
there's a lot
all of
there.
that. And
No, thanks for having me. And then it's like that's what I love to do is like to be able to sponsor, you know, things like this podcast. Like that brings a lot of joy and satisfaction to just be able to like that's all I want to do is just like that's very satisfying to be able to do that. So yeah, no, thanks for having me, and I love talking about tools and pottery and people and everything in between.
awesome. All right, where do you want them to go? Website, Instagram.
Uh,
We talk about your website all the time, but like just remind them where you're at.
yeah, so bushcraft.com. It's actually a .com now.
I saw. I went
So
to Dot Shop the other
yeah,
day and I saw it redirected. I was like, okay.
so that's a big deal. And I'll send you an email. We'll switch all that over. Everything's .com now, bushcraft.com. You can reach us at info@bushcraft.com. And then our Instagram is bushcraft studio. TikTok is bushcraft studio. Yeah, post regularly and check us out. Ask questions. Tell us what you want to see, and we'll do it.
All right. Thanks so much. Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
All right, we'll see you.
All right. Bye.
Hey, all. Thank you for listening to the show. And we also want to thank Lindy and Ashley for all their help with everything that they've done over the years for Whale Talk. They are our Instagram heroes, and they answer all your questions and then send them to us if we need to. And we also want to thank you for listening and also participating. If you want to support our show, the best way to do that is to send us questions and to review us on whichever platform you are. So we haven't had very many reviews so far. I mean, you can even leave us a bad review. We'll make fun of you, but you can. And sending us questions always helps us with every episode that we do so that we can make it the best that we can. I hope you enjoyed the episode today, and I hope you enjoy this season.